Yo, what's up? All right, hey, what's going on, guys? Hey, so today, we need to talk about some battery disconnect switches. More precisely, the 4-post battery disconnect switch. I've had some problems with these things lately. But you know what? Before we get into that, we need to address something here. I don't know, I've done like a handful of videos, and it's kind of funny. I get so many comments. It's just unbelievable. So let me just tell you what I'm hearing. Number one, yes, I'm from the South. I have an accent. I'm from Mississippi. And sometimes I use made up words and phrases because I think it's funny. But you would be surprised how many comments I get on videos that trigger people when I say words, or I guess when I just talk. I don't know what the deal is, but yeah, I have an accent. Deal with it. If you don't like it, I guess you can put it on mute or something, but whatever. So yeah, I just kind of find that comical. Anyway, let's get back into this thing. So, yeah, these 4-post battery switches, man, I've had a few go bad recently, and I can't figure out why. So I'm tearing these apart. I got a Moroso switch here. I got a Pollak switch, whatever that is. Pollak. I got 2 here, and I actually have a third one. I got one on the car right now. And before we talk about what kind of problems we have, most guys know what these are and know what they do, but some people don't. So we're going to go over it real quick. A battery disconnect switch is just that. It's a switch that disconnects the battery. And you have these in race cars. You can have these in boats and RVs or whatever. But the way it works, you have your battery. You have a battery cable that runs to one side. Then from the other side, it runs to a main junction or down to the starter or whatever. Then you can turn the switch on, off, or on. It comes with this handy dandy little plate that's not on here right now because I don't need it. But that's off, that's on. These are important because in a race car situation, for instance, if there's an accident or something happens, you can hurry and disconnect the battery without looking for tools and opening the trunk or whatever. Same thing with a boat or RV. It's just safety. So that's all it is, a very, very simple switch. You have a couple versions of this. You have a 2-post switch and you have a 4-post switch. I've been using a 2-post switch for many, many, many years with 0 problems. But recently, the last couple years, we've been playing 4-post switches. What a pain in the rear. So I'll tell you what's happening. The reason you would need a 4-post switch, especially if you're running an alternator, well, that's why you run it. It's because you run an alternator and you need to kill power to the alternator. And we're going to see how this thing works real quick. I'll tell you my problem, and I'll tell you why I tore these apart. But like I said, normally you run a battery power into there, then this out to your starter. You can put power to here, then run this to your alternator. So when you shut off the switch, it kills power to the car and to the alternator, and your car won't stay running. You can wire a 2-post switch very, very easily to make it work. The way I've done it for many years, but whatever. NHIA rules say when you turn off the switch, it's supposed to kill power everywhere. Well, my car shuts off fine, but the alternator's still powered, but whatever. We're not going to go into that. So let's look at, number one, how these are made and see if we can figure out what's going on with them. We're going to start with this Moroso switch. Obviously, I cut all these open, so I want to see what's going on. So Moroso, they got 2 very large 1/2-inch posts and 2 smaller posts. Same thing as that, just larger posts. This Moroso switch, obviously the handles, the knob's not on it, but same thing. Inside the Moroso plug, when you undo this, it looks like that. And I don't know if you can tell it on the camera, but if you look at that post right there, it looks like it's been really, really hot. Well, that switch is upside down, obviously, because if you look at that post right there, you can tell that one's been really, really hot. Can you see the burnt part right here? Yeah, so something's going on with this switch. So this is the Moroso switch. The way it works, let me pull this part out. it has ball bearings in there. So when you spin this and turn it, it's hard to do with sweaty hands. Dude, it's like 90 degrees in this garage right now. Just a simple dude in the garage. That's all it is. This one goes in one way, it looks like. Goes in like that. So the way it works, I'm going to need a pair of pliers because... Oh, never mind. Okay, so when you turn this, you see this part raise and drop. If that shows up. So when the switch is off, it disconnects the battery. So these two right here connect right here. And then these two little buttons right there connect on the small posts. And man, you can clearly see that this side's been really, really super hot. So that's where it's been failing. So when this is together and you turn the switch on, it connects these two with these two. And we'll see why that's important in just a minute. But that's a theory on how this one works. This one looks pretty robust, but the problem is, I was wondering how this went bad. I was playing with it, and these are spring loaded. Like that, and like that. The problem is when you push them both down, it sticks. So something's squampus in there. Something's weird. Uh-oh, trigger word. Someone's going to complain. Whatever. I don't really care. I don't give a shiz. There's another trigger word. But yeah, it's kind of weird. It sticks. That might have been the problem with this switch. But this switch went bad, and it is pulling like over a million. It had over a million ohms of resistance in it. Some weird number. It was a ridiculously high number. So this switch clearly failed. Basically what was happening was the alternator wasn't charging with this switch. It was actually feeding back towards the alternator. I have a video on it. It was the weirdest thing. I have to look at that video. I might link it somewhere. Anyway, so there's the Moroso switch. That's how that works. Also, I took this out, but there's a spring that sits in here. And all this stuff goes together, which clearly I can't hold it with my hand and show you what's going on with the spring in there. So the spring is out. And it has a pretty thick O-ring that sits in here to make it waterproof, watertight I should say. So that's how that goes together. And let's look at the Pollak switch. And very similar. It has a spring also. A little bitty guy. There's an O-ring, a little bitty O-ring. Does the same thing, but obviously not as robust. So same thing, two large posts, hook your battery, and it doesn't really matter which way you go. Hook the battery here, this side goes to the starter or to the main power source. If you loop from here to here, battery, then you run this to your alternator. Same thing, I'll show you how that works in a minute. So if you pull this apart, it's similar, but not as heavy duty. So this one failed, and let's see if it shows up on camera and try to get the, oh yeah, see how that looks really, really burnt right there? And the top one also, I think you can see that, but that burnt. This one also works the same way, has a little, you turn it right there. It has this right here, so it will rise and lower. There's two slots right there that have to fit like that. So I can only go in one way. The same thing, you turn it on, it connects all of them. Off, on, off, on, off, on, off. Pretty simple little deal. But man, look at this. Look at this thin, flimsy piece of metal. So what I think was failing here, you put the switch in and at first it worked just fine. The battery obviously always worked. And then the alternator seemed to be charging. It was working great until it wasn't. And we're talking like 2 races. It's pretty ridiculous. Alternator quit charging, so I had to rewire it with what I like to call the right way. And basically bypass this switch. But what I think, this must have been getting hot. And these were flexing down, I guess. And then not making contact. I don't really know. What a hassle. 4-pole switches are a pain in the rear. I don't know, maybe I'm doing something wrong, but I don't know any other way to wire these. I didn't see any other instructions, but that's how that goes together. I looked up the specs on this just to see. So this is a Pollak. Oh, let's look at the box right there. That one right there. It's a 51904 EP, and I'll put that up here somewhere. 51904 EP. This is supposed to be a 36 volt double pole single throw switch, 180 amp continuous, and 1000 amp intermittent. This Moroso unit, let's see, I saw a number somewhere. There's a number right there. This Moroso unit, it says it's 79 or 75907, if you can see that on here. This is a 36 volt double pole single throw switch also. And it says it's a 300 amp continuous with the large studs and 20 amp on the smaller studs, which that would make sense. This is gonna, 300 amps versus 180 amps, but still, even 180 amps, that switch should have been just fine for what we were using it for. So let's see how these switches work. Let's see if I can do this and keep everything in frame and make it so there's no glare. Turn this to ohms. Let's see if we can get this any closer. Yeah, something like that. I think you can see that. Right now the switch, if we look at our little diagram there, clearly that's off, that's on, that's off, on, off. Okay, so it's off right now. So there should be no resistance anywhere. Oh, by the way, if I touch these together, it should be 2 or 3. So 0.2, 0.3, something like that. If I touch them here, there's nothing, 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 nothing. It's off. So let's turn the switch on. Now then, we should have, we got a closed circuit now, so there's that. So that's connected, we're good there. Nothing there, nothing there, nothing there. Let's see, and nothing there. But so we're just connected here. So why do we have a 4-pole switch then? Well, let me show you. To make these work correctly, let's just grab our little jumper and put it on either way you want. The main battery comes from the battery from here to here. That's the important part. The switch can be either way, it doesn't really matter. But as long as the battery goes here, and then you can also run a wire from the battery positive to here if you want, or just jumper here to here. Either way, it's the same connection, battery, battery. And we're going to not put the washer on right now because we're just going to do a simple test. And yes, these go on the right way or the wrong way. This is the right way. Okay, that's tight enough for what we're doing. On, off. So the switch is off right now. So now then, if we look at this, we have no connection here. See that 0 right there, no connection. But if we go here and here, there is a connection, obviously, because we're jumped, and there's nothing down here. Now if we turn the switch on, all right. Now then, obviously we're still connected here. I'm going to change these, doesn't really matter. But see, now that we have a connection here, and we have a connection here, and we have a connection here. And see, that's 230, 240 ohms, 230, 240, same. This one here was getting over 1 million. I swear it was over 1 million. I can't remember. The number was huge. It was M ohms and not K ohms. It was M ohms. That was ridiculous. But anyway, that tells me that we have a good connection right here. So this is working. So right now, your alternator will charge. And then when you turn the switch off, it kills power. So this switch is working normally because it's not in the car yet. Now, why is all this a problem? Well, this switch right here, this Moroso switch, is in the car, and it's older. It's been in there for a while. It was working great all the way up until when it wasn't. The alternator wasn't charging. It's actually feeding back. So we put a Pollak switch in there. I thought, man, that's a really good switch, a good name brand. We put one in. It lasted maybe a couple races and took a dump. Thought, okay, well, we got a defective switch. No problem. And that's this switch here. So I pulled that out, put another switch in. Lasted a couple races. Same problem. So now I have 3 problems in a row. And I bought this switch for my car. Needless to say, this is just going to stay in the box. I might sell it to some other poor sap. I don't know, but they're probably going to sit in the box. I don't think I'm ever going to use a 4-post switch because, well, they're failing. How are they failing? I have a 12-volt system. I don't run a 16-volt battery or anything like that. We have a simple 12-volt battery in the car. We have a simple 95 to 100 amp alternator. So I don't think we're putting too much juice through these things. I mean, if this is rated for 180 amps, how are these switches failing? I mean, that's 3 switches, 2 of these right in a row. So I just want to make a quick video on that and see if are any of y'all having this kind of issue. Like I said, I don't think it's something I'm doing wrong. Maybe I am, but I don't see any other way to wire this thing differently. I guess I can put on a weaker alternator. I don't know. Which everybody wants to run 130 amp more or plus alternator. We got a 95 to 100. So yeah, let me know if y'all are having the same issues or if you have different solutions. Again, I just run a 2-post on mine, and I've been real happy with it. My alternator charges, the car shuts off, which, by the way, one test you want to do, the NHRA guy's going to watch this and get uptight. But when the NHRA guys test your car, they have you start your car, then they walk around back, your switch is on. You start your car, they walk around back, and they turn off your switch, and your car dies. Like, okay, you're good to go. Well, maybe. Did you know that if your switch is on, you start your car up, you run it up to about 1,500 RPM, turn your fan and stuff on too while you're at it, just to make sure. And now then go back and have someone shut your switch off. Now see if your car dies. That happened to me many years ago. A tech guy had me start my car up, run it up to about 1,500 with the fan and water pump on. And I thought it was really weird. I never had anyone do that before. He walked in the back of my car. Then he came back up to me and he's at my driver's door and he said, your switch is off. Well, my car was still running. So that was many years ago, and that's what woke me up to, it can work just fine at idle, but at a higher RPM. Once you excite the field on the alternator, or you have a secondary power source running like a fan, that little bit of power, that little bit of electricity that thing is generating can feed back through these things and keep your ignition running. So that might be a test some of you guys might want to try. Now, I've told people about that before. They say, yeah, but if I turn my car off, at 1,500 or 2,000 RPM, what if it damages the electronics? Well, number one, I doubt it's going to do that. And number two, do you want to wait until it's nighttime and you're at the top end of the track doing 130 and you turn your switch off and, well, the fan or something is keeping your engine running? That would suck. So I'd rather know while I'm sitting still in a garage or somewhere that I can control what's going on. I don't want to do it while I'm at the end of the track. So anyway, I would say try that experiment out. So anyway, there's that. I just wanted to run that by y'all. I've just had some weird problems with these switches. Why are they failing? Who can answer that? Why are these getting so hot? Can you see that burn spot? That's getting a lot of heat. This one, I think I know why it failed, because you can feel these things are just, this is just a, fuck if I know. There you go. There's a word for you. So yeah, let me know what you think. And well, there's that. So guess I'll talk at you later. See you.